Have you ever wondered what the odds really are? For winning the lottery or even just for rain on a cloudy day? We often go with our gut, but what if there's a better way? A way to actually use logic to make sense of chance itself? Well, there is. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on probability, and I'll show you how it's not just a bunch of math problems. It's a powerful way of thinking about the world. Let's jump in.
So, here's our game plan. First, we'll nail down what probability actually is. Then, we'll learn its special language. It's easier than you think. After that, we'll uncover one simple golden rule that is the key to solving so many problems. Then, we'll get visual and explore the maps that bring it all to life. By the end of this, you're going to have a complete toolkit for thinking about uncertainty. All right, let's start at square one. What on earth are we even talking about when we say probability? It's actually a lot more intuitive than it sounds. It's really just about putting a number on a feeling we deal with every single day.
Think about it like this. You toss a coin. What are the chances it lands on heads? You immediately think 50-50, right? That little bit of intuition, that's the starting point for all of this. Okay, what about rolling a regular six-sided die? What's the chance you roll a 6? You know there's only one 6 on there, but there are 6 possibilities in total. Your brain is already weighing the options.
And how about drawing a card from a shuffled deck? What are the odds it's an ace? The coin, the die, the cards, they all feel different, but they're all tapping into the very same core idea.
And this is it. This is the idea that connects everything. Probability is just a value, a number, that we give to the chance of something specific happening. It's our way of applying cold, hard logic to things that seem completely random. It's the framework we use to understand uncertainty.
And that value, that number, always lives on a scale from 0 to 1. If something has a probability of 0, it's totally impossible. Think rolling a 7 on a normal die. No way. If it's 1, it is absolutely 100% certain to happen. And everything else, all the maybes and what-ifs in our lives, they all fall somewhere in between 0 and 1. Okay, so to really get good at this, we need to speak the language. And here's the best part. It all comes down to understanding just 2 tiny but incredibly powerful words. Now, in day-to-day conversation, and or can be a little fuzzy, but in the world of probability, they are laser-focused. And means both things have to happen together. It's strict. It's that intersection. A student takes maths and science. Or, on the other hand, is way more flexible. It means at least one of the things happens. It could be A, it could be B, or it could be both. Getting this one distinction right is honestly the key that unlocks everything else we're going to talk about.
So now that we have our new vocabulary down, let's tackle the single most important rule in all of probability. But listen, I am not just going to throw a formula at you and tell you to memorize it. That's boring. We're going to build it ourselves from the ground up, just using logic, so you really get why it works.
Okay, puzzle time. Imagine a classroom. You're told 4 students are taking maths and 3 students are taking science. So you think, okay, 4 plus 3, that's 7 students, right? But then, when you actually count the heads in the room, there are only 5 total students. So what happened? Where did the other 2 students go?
Here's the trick. It's all about the double count. Think about it. The students who are taking both maths and science, well, they got counted once when we tallied up the math group, and then they got counted a second time when we tallied up the science group. So to find the real total, we have to fix our mistake. We have to subtract that overlapping and group one time.
And bam, that little puzzle perfectly explains the golden rule. The probability of event A or event B happening is simply the probability of A plus the probability of B, and then you subtract the probability of A and B happening together. See, it's not some crazy, complex formula. It's just a logical fix to make sure we don't count anything twice. That's it. Okay, so that and overlap, that's the whole key, right? But how do you keep track of it, especially when things get a little more complicated? Well, you need a map. And the absolute best map for visualizing this kind of overlap is the good old Venn diagram.
Now, if you take away only one practical tip today, let it be this one. When you're using a Venn diagram for a probability problem, you have to start in the middle. Always find that and value, that intersection where the circles overlap, and fill that part in first. Trust me, once you do that, everything else just clicks into place.
Let's see it in action. So, say the probability of A is 0.4 and B is 0.5. The trick is, you don't just write those numbers in the big circles. No. You remember the rule, start in the middle. The probability of A and B, the overlap, is 0.2. so we write that in first. Now, the entire A circle has to add up to 0.4. Since we already have 0.2 in the middle, the A only part must be 0.2. And for B, the whole circle is 0.5. We have 0.2 in the middle, so the B only part has to be 0.3. See? Easy.
Venn diagrams are amazing for these kinds of overlap problems, but they're not the only tool we've got. The truth is, different types of problems call for different kinds of maps to really see what's going on.
So let's look at two other powerhouses. First, you've got tree diagrams. These are your go-to when things happen in a sequence, one after the other. Like, what's the chance of pulling a red marble and then pulling a blue one? The tree branches out and shows you every single possible path. On the other hand, you have contingency tables. These are perfect for when you're sorting one big group based on two different features at the same time. Think of a big grid that lets you see, at a glance, how many people are in which categories.
And just like that, you now have a complete probability toolkit. We literally started with just the simple idea of flipping a coin, and now we've built up a whole set of powerful, logical ways to analyze uncertainty. Let's do a quick lightning round recap of the key tools you've just added to your belt.
Okay, let's lock this in. First, probability is just a number between 0 and 1 that measures chance. Simple. The real power comes from its language. And means both, or means at least one. That precision lets us use the golden rule, not as some scary formula, but as a simple, logical way to stop ourselves from counting things twice. And finally, those visual tools, Venn diagrams, tree diagrams, contingency tables, they're just maps. They're ways to help our brains see all the possibilities clearly.
So we'll end on this thought. This was never really about predicting the future with a crystal ball. It's about understanding the present possibilities in a much clearer way. The next time you hear a forecast for a 30% chance of rain, or you read a story about the risks of something, you'll have the mental tools to look past the headline and see the logic underneath. You now have the toolkit to decode the language of chance. The only question left is, what part of your world are you going to make sense of first?